Hello, good morning. I just wanted to share about an experience I had this weekend and some thoughts that are percolating, and they are not solid thoughts, and they are not thoughts that I would say are 100% accurate, but they are latent with feelings and latent with some of societal ideas. And so I was talking with some friends about when people are in survival mode or they're really struggling with survival, and so their kind of capacity for higher awareness is limited. If we were in a group with them, do we feel like we're more just giving, or do we feel like they actually even have the capacity to give? And so, I was thinking about it, and I just recognized, I'm like, okay, I feel defensive. I work with a lot of people who I feel like have these amazing hearts and are in really unfortunate situations. That I want to say no fault of their own, in terms of this was the life they've kind of been born into, and now they're trying to push against it, and the system isn't allowing them to push against it. But they're doing their best, and they have these beautiful hearts. And so I get defensive because I think of these people. And although there's not the full awareness, but there's so much heart. But the piece that then came up with, so I recognized I was defensive because I also came from some, not like maybe some of the women I work with, but I've come from my own set of challenging dynamics. And I always believed I was from a little bit more of a white trashy kind of family. And so, and again, like interesting labels, I'm really trying to work out of that story, because I don't see my family as that anymore, but I recognize that the world around us does perceive us that way. That's the hard part, is that those views affect us. And so I recognize when my friends are saying this, they're also seeing that lens, through that lens as well. So, we kind of put the conversation down, and, and it's been popping back up in my mind. And then there was like we went to this one place, and she thought about inviting this one friend, and decided not to, because she didn't think it was like really her thing, because we were doing more like heart-based ceremony things, and that she wouldn't like be on the same page. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so it's the same thing as the women in the group that are in survival. So if you have a friend who's super heady and not big heart, then they can't hold space, is what I'm hearing, right? That they don't have an understanding, or they don't have a connection to their heart space, so they can't offer the same thing. So I just kind of like, I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's kind of what I said, because I'm like, interesting. And I have a tendency to sometimes do like, I'm above you and I'm righteous and I'm right. And, and then there are times where I'm like, I feel like I'm lower and I don't feel like I'm good enough. So, and I know we all deal with that. So then I've been sitting with it, and I was just listening to a song with some of Ram Dass's conversations about being, like a song about, I think it's like my heart or something. Anyway, and this conversation is rolling through my head because I'm quite upset, because I'm about to go into work. Quite upset. I feel it. I have an upset piece. And it's like, you know what? When I think of the capacity that these women I work with have to recognize their situation and show up, wanting to grow and change. When I think of the women who come to my circles or to breathwork journeys, who maybe don't really have a connection or understanding, but they have the curiosity, and they have the questioning, and they have the wanting, I'm like, those are my people. The people who think they have their shit figured out, which sometimes I feel that way, but the people who are wondering and questioning, like they have a space with me. Because the fact that someone's showing up is showing me that their heart is open, And maybe they don't have the capacity to hold me in certain ways, or maybe their level of like awareness and functioning is different than mine, but that does not mean they do not belong. That does not mean they don't have something important to offer and give. And I think that was a big part of like the conversation, is what do they have to give? That then we end up being the helpers. And I think one thing that these women I work with show me is how much like I'm not actually helping them. Like I'm not the one like helping them. I'm just like a guide. I'm not changing them. They're finding those pieces and I'm fucking cheering them on. And yeah, and I'll ask questions and I'll push for growth 100%. That's what I do in my waking life as a human, and that's what I am so lucky I get to do as a job. But when I think of saying someone doesn't have a capacity, I've just shut down so much of Earth's population to be able to access something that they're craving or that they're desiring or they're longing for. They just don't have the words or understanding. And I know on this journey, there are people who are like further up. And I say further up, like have been doing this a long time, have a really big following, have really strong capacity to elicit transformation in people really quickly. But one thing I had been like learning is people keep the prices high because people are in a safe, secure kind of life that change is really easy. So if you are someone who can afford a $10,000 coaching, whatever, like you already are in a place where you have way more capacity to be able to make the changes you need to have transformation. So then you get to experience all these amazing transformational things, and like this coach and this person offered these amazing things to you. When really, that has taken what they offer and make it sound like what they offer is like better than other people. See, I even see my face expression, my disgust. I'm working on that. I have some scarcity mindset and beliefs of myself on my own. But like, I'm feeling like it's creating that above and below. And like, I think of like, oh man, that seems like, oh man, I resonate with that. I would love that. And I go and I'm like, I can't afford that. It would take me years to pay off a $10,000 program. I'm just getting, I'm currently, comfortably living month to month. And it's like, I can't afford that. And I won't be able to for quite a while. But that doesn't mean I don't have capacity. I don't have energy. I don't have drive. I'm starting my own business. I'm trying to like offer more in the community because I feel like there's this opportunity to support growth in people and connection. Like, my God, we need that more than ever. And I do not want to be the person who's saying you have more capacity than you. Now, I do agree. I want people who can show up, not be triggered, be able to participate. That's what I need in the people I work with. In some of the clients I work with, they have the capacity to show up, but they're triggered very easily and they struggle to maintain emotional regulation and struggle to be around other people. 100%. So some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff I offer might not be for them, but that doesn't mean there's not a bridging place. And for all of us who are kind of in our high place and don't want to see the suffering of others, my heart breaks because that is above and below. And circle is meant to be side by side. Circle is side by side. I don't care who you are, what walk of life you come from. If you've come and chosen to be there, you are there with me, and I will hold that space for you and with you. And I will trust you have every capacity to be there and hold that space for me. It might look different, but you or whoever comes to these spaces are there to be seen and heard, and are there to see and hear others. What more is needed in that space? That is where the heart is the willingness to hear others and be with others, and the willingness and vulnerability to be seen and heard. That is the most important thing. And my heart hurts for all the people. I mean, I struggle with it sometimes, but when I think of my friends, and we'll have a future conversation about this again, but for people who think they are above or below, and when we're just right next to each other trying to figure this out, this wild ride of being human. So, yeah, anybody who watches, I'm so glad to be beside you, and yeah, thank you.